Can you just help us? I'll ask one last time. As the person with the 15-year history of prosecuting cases, as the person who was the criminal lawyer, why after April 2012 did you have such a limited role, even though you were the only criminal lawyer in the legal team? I'm less interested in your professional development, but more interested in and how fulfilled.
So we jump back into Jarnail Singh's testimony to the Post Office inquiry, and he agrees with the characterisation put forward by Jason Beard that it was just a postbox. He was just somebody handing off messages from one to another. And when he's challenged on the fact that Cartwright King, in his own words, have all the caseload for the subpostmasters handed over towards them, and he's asked what he does, he provides a very babbled description about a lot of nothing, really. So what exactly was he doing? Because he says he wasn't overseeing Cartwright King either. Let's jump into the inquiry.
Can we move on? That can come down, please. You refer in your witness statement to the supervision of prosecutions or investigations and charging decisions undertaken by Cartwright King. And you say in paragraph 7 that in respect of criminal prosecutions, Cartwright King took over full responsibility for the lifetime of a case, and that you acted as a point of contact between the Post Office Limited and Cartwright King and would request or forward information as and when required. And you made a correction to that part of your statement this morning, I think. In paragraph 7, you give the impression that you were essentially a postbox.
A postbox, I mean, literally. I mean, I guess that summarises it quite accurately, but that's exactly what it sounds like, because he's their head of criminal law who doesn't manage Cartwright King, who doesn't have anyone underneath him at the post office, who refers criminal matters onto them because they've got the criminal expertise. So definitely it does sound like somebody who's handing off other people's work.
Between the post office and Cartwright King. Would that be fair? This is post-separation.
I think at the beginning, I wanted to do things in a certain way, but I think as soon as Second Sight came on board, it was difficult because I had other pressures internally. I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the support, and I think I mentioned to you early this morning that I highlighted that to Susan and Hugh, and Cartwright King basically more or less sat in the seats of criminal law team as they were before. And yes, that's right. I mean, as and when they needed me, I was there. As and when I needed them, they were there.
So he agrees with that because of the pressures put on by Second Sight. Well, Second Sight are the ones developing the report. I mean, I guess they would have to respond to requests. He would have to respond to requests on behalf of the criminal law team and the post office, but I'm not sure how that takes over his entire daily caseload unless they actually want that to happen and contract out all these cases.
What level of supervision and oversight did you perform post-separation when Cartwright King took over responsibility in the way that you describe?
How do you mean? With the criminal law team or where?
Post-separation, you're the only criminal lawyer in Post Office Limited. Cartwright King, you say, take over responsibility, and you acted as a point of contact between the Post Office and Cartwright King. And I'm asking, what level of supervision and oversight of Cartwright King's work did you undertake?
I didn't. I think you're right. Probably was more of a. I can't remember, to be honest. It just. I don't know. I mean, the answer to that, I certainly. It was more like I described to you. It's a relationship where they basically knew our work very well, but I think they've came on board on the subpostmasters cases early year 2011.
That's what I was going to ask you. When did Cartwright King take over full responsibility for the lifetime of a criminal case?
I think more or less March year 2011, something like that, because we didn't have the capacity in house, and I think more or less some of the cases where I did one or two initial advice, that is year 2020, March 2011, and I think I went up to Rob Wilson and I said, look, how are we going to manage this? And I think soon after, a decision was made to pass all the subpostmaster cases to Cartwright King.
But that sounds like a conscious decision. It wasn't like our workload was going too much. Post-separation, they've gone down from having 8 senior lawyers to having 1, and then he's becoming the head of criminal law. So that sounds like a conscious decision. So like the decision to contract out's made, so we need less staff in-house, therefore we're going to push those cases out. So really that sounds like it was nothing to do with the second sight report at all, or certainly not as the primary driving factor. But my one question for this is, if the head of criminal law at the post office and the only criminal law at the post office isn't supervising Cartwright King, which is the third-party law firm brought in to handle these cases, then who is supervising them? Or do they just have a free-for-all?
And I think they formalised the position even more after the 1st of April, year 2012. But they've been more or less dealing with our cases, or the subpostmaster cases, prosecution subpostmaster cases a year before, March 11.
So between March 2011 and April 2012, who in the post office was responsible for the supervision of the conduct of prosecutions undertaken by Cartwright King?
Presumably the head of criminal law team.
Did any of the criminal lawyers take part in such supervision of prosecutions conducted by Cartwright King?
I don't know to that. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I certainly, I think one of the problem was, reason being, I think the principal lawyer, I think she had some medical problem. I think she had to take 6 months or 10 months off. And I said, well, look, Robert, I can't deal with this. There's just too much. I don't know what number of cases we're involved with now, but so that's when the decision was made. Just subpostmaster cases just went to Cartwright King from then on.
So you can't help us as to who within the post office was responsible for the supervision of the conduct of prosecutions by Cartwright King between March 2011 and April 2012?
It would be Rob Wilson, I would assume.
Just Rob Wilson?
Yeah, I would have thought.
Okay.
It certainly wasn't me, because it wouldn't be me on my sort of grade or whatever it is they call it. Yeah.
If all of the prosecutions were being undertaken and they undertook full responsibility for the lifetime of criminal cases, Cartwright King,
Yes.
between March 2011 and April 2012, what were you doing?
Well, almost everything in house. I mean, as you know, Jarnail, can you help with it? Jarnail, help with that, because there was a lot of going on. You've got the second side involved. You've got the mediation. You've got the all sorts of people reviewing it, shifting through the cases. The chief executive period.
When you said shift, do you mean sifting through the cases?
Shifting, sorry. Shit, sorry about that. Yes. So, it was very exhausting. It's very extending, but it was enjoyable in the sense it was something new. And
Is it just me, or is there not a lot of detail in this? It was extremely busy work, very, very busy. Jarnail, can you help with this? Jarnail, can you help with that? But as we've seen from literally every other instance that he's pointed out, he's actually said, well, I was too busy to deal with it, so I took somebody else's words that I got them to write and send it on. Still trying to establish what the too busy aspect was for him personally, apart from sending emails.
The beauty of the good thing was that I had experts, Cartwright King, the barristers in Balliard, assisting and helping. So from a development point of view, it was quite good, but from...
I'm less interested in your professional development, but more interested in and how fulfilled...
Well, I'm filling in purely because, there was other things to do with the in-house. I mean, I can't list all of them because it was Susan, Hugh, other team members. You've got the civil litigation lawyers, again, dealing with the mediation side of it.
So would this be right? Between March 2011 and April 2012, you were engaged in work that concerned the fallout from the discovery of some problems or potential problems with Horizon, and liaison with parts of the business concerning the second site review, the setting up of the mediation scheme, and other things like that, rather than the conduct of prosecutions?
I mean, with mediation and the setting up other aspect, they're just on the periphery of it, on the outside. I wasn't heavily involved in any of that because I wasn't part of that. But any criminal aspect, getting data together. I think the board wanted some sort of sheet as to where, how many cases are being prosecuted, how many cases are not, the progress side of things. And I think, I don't know what the remit of Hugh. I think he used to email me, Jarnail, can you give me this? What does that mean? From a criminal aspect, generally that.
The irony of this here is then that the post office had like criminal law teams, investigation teams that ended up conducting such poor investigations and prosecutions of going after people that now they've got a reduced workforce despite an increase in workload. That's now not only having to deal with these prosecutions that they're launching, but dealing from the relevant pieces of fallout from said prosecutions, namely people putting up defences against the allegations, the second sight report. So this is growing legs, but it's something of their own making and doing. It beggars belief, really.
After April 2012, post-separation, where you were the only criminal lawyer within the post office.
I was the only criminal lawyer there, yes.
Who was responsible within the post office for supervising the conduct of prosecutions that were run by Cartwright King?
Well, I suppose it would be Hugh. Hugh had quite an input into it. He always wanted to know what was going on. And I think...
what was Hugh's job then?
He was head of legal.
Civil?
No, overall.
And so you, as the only criminal lawyer, didn't have any role in the supervision of the conduct of criminal prosecutions run by Cartwright King?
I think they kept me informed as to what was going on. I did ask a lot of the time, but look, Hugh wants to know that, Susan wants to know that, business wants to know that, and they're very helpful. They used to, and also I think I had quite a good relationship with their lawyers, 4 or 5 of them, and they always said, Jarnail, they used to flag things up for me so I can in turn keep myself up to date and communicate that to, Hugh and Susan.
Was there a system for reviewing how Cartwright King, or indeed any other external solicitors, were conducting their prosecutions?
I don't know whether there was an official policy, but I wasn't aware of it. But that would have been, I wasn't copied into anything like that. I've not seen any policy as to how they've been reviewed. But I think they were sort of more or less, because Second Sight came in on board more or less June, July 12, I think it was. And I think after that, I was from a different position to where I wanted to be. And I think that again is something that Hugh and Susan would have monitored or had something in place to chat to them and work out, do their appraisal. And
so it's Hugh and Susan's job, not yours?
No.
Was there any system in place, to your knowledge, to ensure that Cartwright King would be aware of any potential Horizon system issues or user issues relating to Horizon?
I would assume so, but I can't say yes or no because I wasn't part of it. I wasn't told one way or the other.
And so as the only criminal lawyer, you were kept out of the loop, were you?
Well, I think as you could probably see from the emails, yes, most of the time. And I was a bit sort of as and when there was advice to be sought or some input, they included me in. But I think a lot of it is things have been they've been there. Civil litigation been part of the post office limited, or some of the people been there longer than I have. I don't before even their separation, and it was business as usual. The criminal lawyer side was something that was new to them, and we had Cartwright King in place. We had the Belliard lawyers, barristers in place.
What were the Belliard barristers doing?
Well, they were prosecuting.
Talking in April 2012 onwards.
I think there was an
I mean, imagine having a criminal law team which is pretty much just staffed by one person and then sidestepping them on criminal law issues. I mean, were they just not taking advice, or were they sidestepping Jarnail Singh and just going direct to Cartwright King and others themselves for the answers that they wanted, seeing as though, I don't know, did they know they were just getting cut and paste answers and decided to go directly to them?
Ongoing cases which they were brought forward, which they were already part of. And I think then subsequently Cartwright King either decided to keep in-house or to use them as and when there was London cases, but I can't help you with that.
So can you just help us? I'll ask one last time. As the person with the 15-year history of prosecuting cases, as the person who was the criminal lawyer, why after April 2012 did you have such a limited role, even though you were the only criminal lawyer in the legal team?
Yeah, that was what was required. It just fitted in with whatever the business wanted. I mean, all of the prosecutions dealt with by outside. That's their model, or that's the way they wanted to go forward, and that's what the other areas of the law were. Same with the civil litigation. There was only Roderick, I think, there, and same as the company commercial. There was only one lawyer overseeing that, and that's the model. Maybe they misunderstood how it was going to work, but that's how it worked. And then subsequently, other things took over.
Sounds like essentially they've just literally sidestepped him and just been like, yeah, we don't need you. We'll contract it out to a third party who might not have been being managed themselves on the post office side, who then might have subsequently subcontracted out some of the work to do with the subpostmasters prosecution cases. So it sounds very messy. Certainly doesn't sound ideal compared to handling it in-house as it had done previously been prior to separation from the Royal Mail group. And one has to wonder what the purpose behind outsourcing the subpostmaster prosecutions in the 2012-13 period was. What was the rationale behind doing that rather than keeping it in-house?